Operation Delhi began in October 2018 after the chairman of Bland Limited, James Gagero, made a complaint directly to the RGP Commissioner at the time, Ian McGrail. Following a series of outages, he alleged the hacking and/or sabotage of the NSCIS platform. He wrote a formal written complaint to the RGP in December of that year. But rewinding back to July 2018, two employees of Bland, Thomas Cornelio and John Perez, left the company after they set up a private enterprise called 36 North Limited. This they did with the financial backing of Hassan's law firm to the tune of £476,000. Hassan's owned a 33% share in 36 North through a holding company called Astelon Limited. Senior partner James Levy owned just over a 10% share, while Chief Minister Fabian Picardo had just under 3%. Other senior partners at Hassan's also had a small shareholding. Mr. Cornelio and Perez hoped to attract the government custom for NSCIS away from Bland to 36 North, believing it was for the government to decide who could deliver a better service. Sir Peter Caruana represented Bland in the case against 36 North Limited over the ownership of the NSCIS platform, which was disputed. Sir Peter also took a role in preparing the evidence for the RGP. He now represents the government parties in the McGrail Inquiry. Moving on to May 2019 now, with the help of the UK's National Cybercrime Unit at the National Crime Agency, Thomas Cornelio and John Perez were arrested along with a senior government civil servant, Cain Sanchez. At the time of their arrests, it was alleged that they had conspired to defraud Bland by assuming the intellectual property rights to NSCIS. It was also alleged that they had dishonestly undermined Bland's ability to perform its contractual agreement with the government, and therefore obtained the benefit of that agreement for themselves and/or for 36 North Limited. But the men maintained that it was the government who were the owners of NSCIS and not Bland. The RGP circumvented the ownership issue by focusing the Op Delhi investigation on the maintenance contract rather than on the actual platform. The Chief Minister intervened and said the NSCIS contract would remain with Bland. By early 2020, the investigation led the police to the offices of Hassan's senior partner James Levy, whom they suspected may be involved in the conspiracy to defraud investigation. On the 12th of May 2020, the RGP attempted to execute a search warrant at his office. Mr. Levy handed over his devices voluntarily. But the warrant was never executed. Mr. Levy's devices were never searched, and by September that year, he was no longer considered to be a suspect. But Thomas Cornelio, John Perez and Cain Sanchez were charged with conspiracy to defraud Bland, but on a different basis, that they had intended to undermine the ability of Bland to perform a maintenance contract relating to NSCIS. Mr. Cornelio was also charged with a number of computer misuse offences, including unauthorised access and unauthorised acts with intent to impair, cause or create risk of serious damage. Additionally, Cain Sanchez was charged with misconduct in public office. The three men have always denied the charges and have maintained their innocence from the outset. They were confident the Chief Justice would dismiss the charges against them. But in January 2022, just before trial, everything came to a halt. The Attorney General announced he was applying a rare legal instrument called a nolli prosequi to discontinue the proceedings, despite saying there was enough evidence to prosecute. He cited public interest grounds. The day before the inquiry was due to start, the government issued a restriction notice under the Inquiries Act relating to a small and limited number of references to the NSCIS system in documents before the inquiry into Ian McGrail's early retirement. The Chief Minister cited public interest grounds. This week, Ian McGrail told the inquiry the national security platform had been severely assaulted, putting the people of Gibraltar at risk. The inquiry continues, and no written contract as to who owns the NSCIS platform has ever been established.